My name is Will, and I've been a sports journalist for over 15 years now, but I suffered a bleed on the brain in March 2013, so 6 years ago now, and I'm still very much coming to terms with it even after 6 years.
My name is Ronnie and I'm 64 next month. I've lived here for about nearly 40 years and I'm a nurse. I've worked in most of the hospitals around this area. I was diagnosed in 2007 having had issues with my walking and my right arm, my right leg. My right arm didn't swing and my right leg I was dragging my foot, which I thought I first thing I'd injured it, but apparently I was dragging it. Went to the GP and he did neurological tests on me, decided that I'd got Parkinson's, to which I was sort of rather nonplussed. So sort of 3 boxes of tissues later and a few tears, etc.
I lived on the other side of town and I'd walk to work that way, and just for some unknown reason I decided to drive and park across the road. It was so strange. Well, I was found fitting by the neighbour, and then I'd never suffered a fit in my life, but then they rang an ambulance. The ambulance came out, found me and assessed me and found that I'd had a bleed on the brain, and then I was rushed straight away to Frenchay Hospital, which I think is now called Southmead Hospital, and had an operation to remove a lot of the damage that was done, placed into an induced coma to help my body recover, and then went back to Gloucestershire Royal Hospital, because that's where I was living, to be close to home, and then was in Salisbury Rehabilitation Hospital for 9 months, learning all the basics like walking and talking all over again.
We've all got dopamine and that controls our nerves in our spine and in our brain. We've all got about 100% initially. Unfortunately with Parkinson's we tend to sort of lose, or the black cells, the substantia nigra, the black matter in the brain that produces dopamine, in my case, has died off. So by the time I'm showing any symptoms, when I was diagnosed, I probably lost about I was left with 20. I probably lost about 80% of the cells that make the dopamine. And I'm now probably just running on empty now, just the tablets I take.
They do say that you'll never get close to a full recovery. The closer you'll get is 90% back to kind of your old self. But in terms of the sort of logistics of my hospital stay, I was in induced coma for a month.
Yeah, so around a month, and then in some form of hospital for half a year. And then a year outside of hospital where I was full-time carer to get Will back.
Because we met on Valentine's Day 2012 and then had my brain injury March 2013, so it was just over a year and a couple of weeks that she'd actually known me, and then suddenly she was thrust into this world of being my carer, which is, a lot of demands on a relationship. This strange thing that I've learned about brain injuries in particular is this phrase that says brain injuries don't just affect one person. It's very true, because obviously it meant Amy was living here in Poole and would often have to drive 2-hour drive to come and see me in hospital, so it just shows the sort of knock-on effect. And then my family live in Leicester in the East Midlands, so if they ever wanted to come and visit, they had to travel 2 or 3 hours to drive down to come and see me in hospital, so it just shows the ripple effects that brain injury can have.
I think when I was at work, because I had to go from theatre I had to go walk through outpatients to the dining room for lunches and meals and drinks, I wasn't aware that I was walking slower than normal. And it was only when I started the dopamine tablets as opposed to the dopamine agonists that I suddenly sort of, wow, this is fantastic. I was really motoring, in my words, I suppose. And everybody said, God, what's she on? I want some of that. They all wanted the same. So it was more obvious to other people who were used to seeing me, because they'd noticed me slowing down, but weren't aware that I'd slowed down. It was me.
So it was about a month before my bleed, so February 2013, I ran the Gloucester 10k, and that's the biggest kind of race I'd ever really done. So I think, not trying to sound big-headed, but I was in reasonably good shape. The hardest thing for me was the recovery time, because your legs just hurt so much, and that's nothing to do with brain injury, that's just generally from running and and training for a marathon really. So
You had to think about where you were training because Will can't remember. He had to think hard because he would get lost, so he literally had to just go to the beach and along the prom and back again, because if he tried to do anything different he would just get lost.
Yes, I try to get out and about. My son will probably say that differently to me, but he says I don't do these things, but I do. He's what I call my tough love.
Yeah,
he does make me get out. Sometimes he'll come home and say, right, we'll go for a coffee. We go the long way round to get my cup of coffee, which in a way is good because he bullies me, but obviously in a nice way. I got three classes I go to with the University of the Third Age, U3A, which is predominantly for people who are retired. I do a knitting and natter one, and I do a quiz one, and I do Scrabble.
One of the big aspects of my brain injury recovery or brain injury journey is that I've definitely gone from a more pessimistic person into a more optimistic person, as in trying to find positives in every situation. So I went to the 2011 Rugby World Cup as part of my job in New Zealand, which was great, but the last World Cup in England was 1991, and it so happened that the World Cup was then in this country in 2015, so I went back to work in 2014, and I always had the 2015 Rugby World Cup in my head as like a goal or an aim, as Amy says, to strive for. And luckily I got back to work and got to report at the 2015 Rugby World Cup. And then a year later, 2016, was the junior or under 20 Rugby World Cup in Manchester, so I got to report at that. So during the course of my brain injury, as I say, talking about positives, I've got married, become a dad, reported at 2 World Cups, and ran a marathon.
If I go back to when I used to go to the local Parkinson's branch, we're all different, and everybody, we know we've all got Parkinson's, but we all act and sort of show it differently. I'd heard from somebody, I think this was somebody with MS, and he called it the snowflake syndrome, or whatever you want to call it, where basically there's not one snowflake the same as another, which I think is amazing in any case. That's quite incredible. And apparently the same is with Parkinson's. Every one of us, some will shake, some will have tremors, some won't, some will be slow, some will be fast. We're all different. And it's treating people as with respect and not making comments. I don't know. Oh yes, I think one Christmas I was doing a Christmas quiz for a rugby club, and this lady on the table next to me said, "Are you drunk?" And I sort of looked at her and I said, "No, actually I've got Parkinson's." She said, "You haven't." I said, "I think I'm fine, I have actually." And she shut up after that. So people don't actually think before they open their mouths.
This is what's difficult about Will, is for Will, you can't see that he's had a brain injury.
And that's what, I mean, overall brain injuries, they're often called an invisible injury, because from the outside, many people, not just myself, many people, you would look at someone and say they haven't had a brain injury or they're not going through a brain injury because you look kind of just like everybody else. And they often say if you had a stick or if you're in a wheelchair, not that I'd wish that upon anybody, but it's a bit more obvious that there is an issue there, and people can make compensations, like they can let people pass. For example, like another hidden effect is the part of my brain that was damaged was the part of the brain that controls emotions. So you'll probably see or hear that I get quite teary or upset, and I just literally can't help that. And I've met and I can't obviously control that, and it's that control or that filter that's been damaged that compared to everybody else has that control and filter over emotions.
Hello, my name's Louise Vazakali and I'm a physiotherapy lecturer here at Bournemouth University, and I'm also a physiotherapist who has treated people that have neurological problems. So I think a lot of it is understanding symptoms. Ronnie's a very good case of that. She's a retired nurse, so she really clearly understands the symptoms, and she also really understands how the medications work and the effects that they have. So that is one very key area. I think the other area for people that have a long-term condition is about keeping well and keeping fit. So all of us need to keep fit, and all of us have a requirement to exercise regularly, and that is just as important for people that have Parkinson's disease, but we all do that in a very different way. So what works for me is not going to work for you, or is not going to work for Ronnie. So it's about finding out the best way that you can keep active and keep fit, sort of getting to know your own body, getting to know when it's best to exercise. So there might be a particular time for Ronnie when it's better to exercise, and if Ronnie's got a lot of other things on during the day, then it's more important for her to do those things, go to the hairdresser, meet a friend for coffee, and then do exercising on another day, because people do get very tired and fatigued. So it's really about learning what works best for you. So keeping fit is a key part of self-management, I would say.
I would think so, yes, and also listening to people, listening to the physios. Yourself, I've always taken on board the advice you've given when I've been up here and we've done our sessions. So yeah,
so we as physiotherapists would regularly review people that have Parkinson's disease. So we'd assess their symptoms, see if there are any new or different symptoms. We might do what we call outcome measures, where we would time walking or time various activities, and that would be a good measurement to see if there's been any change. We would do that in collaboration with the person, depending on what their lifestyle is and what their goals are, and then suggest a programme of maintenance for them so that they can go away and work on it by themselves without relying upon us. We don't want people to rely upon us as physios. We're there to facilitate health and well-being so that they can learn to manage the long-term condition that they have.
We're back to that cliche phrase used earlier of no two brain injuries are the same. So therefore, don't assume or treat two people the same. Every brain injury is individual.